What up, what up? It's Garage Gym Homie, and today I'm talking about recovered versus recovering addicts and alcoholics. Is it worth it? Before we get into this here, please click the subscribe button. I got content coming out all the dang time for you. So click subscribe and let's get into this, homies. Hey man, I gotta make the content that touches my heart, that comes from the heart. You know, that's my purpose here, is to be a light to the world and to help addicts and alcoholics, man. That's number one over everything. That's my purpose in life. So I can only talk about these monkey business supplements so long, you know. This is a very important conversation for people who are struggling. The thing about it is, once I was ready to be done for good, getting high, you know, I'm a recovered addict, alcoholic. I was hooked on heroin, crystal meth, everything, man. Weed, Xan, I don't care. You can't come on here and tell me you can't be addicted to weed, homie. I've done it. I've had physical withdrawals, cold sweats. You don't know nothing about a dang thing, man. So I'm just talking junk. But for real though, this is such an important conversation because I came to find out that there was a lot of bad information out there in rehabs, treatment centers, AA meetings, and I was blessed enough to be given a sponsor who passed down the right information to me, man. And so I passed that down to the people I sponsor, and they passed that down, and it comes from the book, the AA Big Book, which is the text. The first 100 people who recovered from alcoholism got together and they wrote this book, sharing their experience with us so we too can recover. So when they say we throughout this book, they're not talking about me. They're not talking about addicts and alcoholics. They're talking about them, the first 100 people who recovered. So this is AA, man. It says it right here, Alcoholics Anonymous. A lot of people go to AA meetings and they sit at a table for an hour a day and, you know, talk about whatever. And they say, I'm at AA. That's not AA. That's an AA meeting. That's the fellowship of AA, the socialization part. The book is AA, alcohol, and it's a 12-step spiritual program of action written in this book. So anyway, I've been to 20 different rehabs. 20, homie. 20! I've counted. Rehab, sober livings, detox centers, all sorts of craziness, halfway houses. And I was always told you never recover. You're always a recovering addict or alcoholic. And that was very interesting because that gave me a message of you're always going to struggle. You're never going to really get well. You're always recovering. You never get well. Let's say you have an injury and you broke your arm. And I mean, what if the doctor told you you're always going to be recovering? You'll never recover. That tells you your arm's always going to be broken. So I want to talk about the difference between recovered and recovering. So in all those 20 rehabs, I was told you're always going to be recovering. And people still today, man, I'm going on 10 years sober. January 26th will be 10 years, God willing. And people say to me, I'm very open about that I'm a, recovered addict alcoholic. They say, I know how tough that must be. I know how hard it is. And my response to them is, hard? No, it's not hard. This is the biggest gift I've ever received in my life. This is not a struggle. I don't struggle to stay sober. Sobriety is a gift to me. You see the difference in perspective? A lot of the disease of addiction, which centers in my head, comes down to perspective. Sobriety being a struggle. Another thing that's bad information in AA. You ever heard one day at a time? See, we take these sayings and we run with them. One day at a time. I'm struggling just to get through one more day. One day at a time. One day at a time. There's enough one-liners that go around in AA meetings to kill all of us. It's okay to say you're done for good. I wouldn't have sat there with my dad and made amends to him from the heart if I thought there was a chance that I'd ever have to make amends with him again. See, our disease, which centers in our head, tells us, don't say you're done for good. You might drink tomorrow, but today you'll stay sober, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time. That's your disease wanting a back door. It's okay to say you're done for good. The book tells us that. So anyway, the very first thing that happens when I open this book, the very first thing, before you even get into the reading, it says, the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. They use the word recovered. That's not an accident. See, we can't, the problem with people and why the success rate in AA is so low, back in the 30s, 40s, when they were going through this, the success rate was like freaking 90% or something. I mean, they went right and got down to business, went through the 12 steps. I mean, they were running around town making amends with people on like their 4th day sober. It was like within weeks they were doing this. And we take, we change what's in the book. Easy does it. Take your time. If you have cancer and the doctor tells you have cancer, are you going to take your time with the treatment? You're going to get on it immediately. All these crazy say, oh, you should be on the 1st step for a year, 2nd step for a year. What? Where does it say that in here? I have a deadly disease. It's so deadly. It's the only disease that tells me I don't even have a disease. It tells me, you're okay, Ari. You're okay. So the very first thing they tell you is a message of hope. How many thousands of men have recovered from alcoholism? I never even saw that because all of these years that I went to those rehabs and sat at AA meetings, I thought I was at AA. I never even touched this book. See, that's the problem. We take what's in the book and we change it. And then we wonder why we don't stay sober, why we stay sick. That's like buying a cake at the store and you look at the ingredients on the box and you say, I'm going to change this ingredient, I'm going to add this in, I'm going to take this away. And then the cake comes out of the oven and it doesn't look like it does on the box and you wonder why. Because you changed it. It's the same with this, man. If I don't do exactly what the first 100 people did, I won't get the same result that they did. And they say you can recover. I'm not always recovering. I'm not sick today. So listen. So then it opens up here and we go forward to the first. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. Recovered. They've already used it 3 times now, right in the first pages. We hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication will be necessary. They're saying they're hoping that by making this book, this is the only thing that you need to stay sober. These directions in here. No other books, no other, how-to guide, no other, nothing. This is how you stay sober. This is the text. So, recovered. And it says, what did we recover from? Recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. That means that I'm no longer powerless over drugs and alcohol. That's amazing. That doesn't mean that I've recovered control of drinking. That doesn't mean I can go out and shoot a little heroin or smoke a little weed or have a drink. That's not what recovered means. That's not what they say. We have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Every time I'm at an AA meeting, I say, my name is Ari, I'm a recovered alcoholic. That's so important to say because my purpose of being at that meeting is for the newcomer. It's not for me. I'm not at an AA meeting for me. I have God. I have spirituality. I have the 12 steps. I have this book. I'm not going to drink if I don't go to an AA meeting or get high. That's not why I'm at a meeting for the person who's brand new, who doesn't have the right information, who's told you never recover. And I'm there to tell them some hope. You can get well. I'm going to show you how. I never let somebody new walk by me without taking him under my wing and offering and saying, I'm going to sponsor you. Look at this, man. My sponsor wrote this. He wrote this in my book when he gave it to me. He said, thank you for all the joy you brought in my life when your answer to the question was yes when I asked you, can I sponsor you? I didn't ask my sponsor to sponsor me. He came to me and said, I'm going to sponsor you. He saw I was sick and struggling. That's what AA is about. So now, I just want to tell you, to recover from alcoholism is an event. It happens. When I was 2 weeks sober, I said the third step prayer, which I did the third step. I said from my heart, there's two ways to pray. There's two ways to say the third step prayer. From your head and from your heart. From the heart, God, I offer myself to thee to build with me, to do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self so I may better do your will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do your will always. That's the third step prayer. And I said it with my sponsor. We held hands, and I felt it from my heart. And I walked out of that synagogue. We did it at a synagogue. That's where the AA meeting happened to be. We met after the meeting. I said the prayer. I haven't had a thought or feeling to drink or get high in almost 10 years since I said that prayer from the heart and walked out of that building. That's what it means to be a recovered addict alcoholic. God has removed the obsession for me to drink and get high. That's what a recovered addict, it's an event, it happens. I walked out of there and it was lifted. Now it's important to know this. It doesn't always happen like that with everybody, where it's that white lightning experience where 2 weeks after they're sober, they say the prayer and they walk out and but the book promises that as you continue on with the steps, it will happen. Sometimes it happens later in the process, but it will happen if you're doing the steps exactly as they're written in this book from here. So now, God removed my obsession to drink. I haven't had a thought or feel. That might be unbelievable for some of you to hear, that I was hooked on heroin. I couldn't go freaking 3 hours without thinking about putting a needle in me and where I'm going to get it next, or meth or Xanax or this or that. And I've gone almost 10 years without a thought or feeling to drink or get high. And that's not because I'm special. That's because I decided I was ready to be done for good, not one day at a time. And I was willing to do whatever it takes. And that third step prayer I said, that's a contract with God that we're going to follow through to do the rest of the steps immediately. Immediately. That means right when I say that third step prayer, I walk out of that building and I get down to business on the fourth step and the fifth step and the sixth step. That means that if I'm not doing the seventh step or the eighth step, I'm not really doing the third step, because I'm not sticking to my contract with God to follow through with the rest of the steps. And that's how you recover, by sticking to that contract. Every single person I sponsor who I've said that third step prayer with, and they don't move forward immediately with the fourth step, I see them relapse. And I say to them, what do you think happened? Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. But it's always the same thing. They didn't stick to that contract to follow through with the rest of the steps. The disease said, take your time, man. You don't really have to do that fourth step right now. Take your time. You don't have to move forward at once, like the book says. Easy does it, homie. That's why people relapse. This has to be life and death. There has to be a sense of urgency to move forward with this. And I was excited to do it. So I just want to say there's other stuff at treatment centers, and I'll wrap this video up, that they talk about. That's nowhere in the book. Listen to this. On page 26, it says, he begged the doctor to tell him the whole truth, and he got it. In the doctor's judgment, he was utterly hopeless. He could never regain his position in society, and he would have to place himself under lock and key or hire a bodyguard if he expected to live long. That was a great physician's opinion. But this man still lives and is a free man. He does not need a bodyguard, nor is he confined. He can go anywhere on this earth where other free men may go without disaster, provided he remains willing to maintain a certain simple attitude. He's a free man. He can go anywhere on earth that other free men can go as long as he keeps the same attitude. That means there are no triggers. That's what I was taught in treatment centers. You watch for your triggers. Watch what triggers you. I'm a recovered alcoholic. There are no triggers. That's what it means to recover. That means God has lifted my obsession to drink and get high. I'm not going to see some old friend I got high with and, oh my God, I got to jump in his car and get high. I'm triggered. I'm not going to see alcohol at the liquor store or the grocery store. Oh my God, my hands are getting clammy. I'm triggered to buy. I'm protected as long as I maintain a simple attitude and do this. That's the message of hope. And it's hard to wrap your head around that if you haven't been through it, but it's here for you. And we just can't think our way out of this disease. We need a spiritual program of action. I can't play the tape back of how bad it was or go to my head. I have to go to here. So that's the message of hope that I delivered to you, and I hope this was enlightening to some addict or alcoholic who doesn't know that you can get well, that you can recover, that you can be a recovered alcoholic. I hope you're fired up, and if any of you are struggling and you need a sponsor, I would be honored to guide you through the steps out of this book. You hit me in the email, garagegymhomie@gmail.com. God bless all of you. Together, let's get this dang muscle.